Hey guys, and welcome back to Bee's Kitchen. So on today's menu we will be making Gizzard Dodo, one of my favorite Nigerian dish. Now for those of you who don't know what Gizzard Dodo is, it is basically a combination of fried plantain, fried gizzard mixed in pepper sauce. This dish is usually served with rice, but you can certainly have it as a snack or a starter. Now let's begin. So before we start making our gizzard dodo, we will need the following ingredients. We will need some gizzard. I purchased my gizzard from my local butchers. The gizzard has already been cleaned and ready for steaming. To steam the gizzard, I'll be using scotch bonnet, onion, ginger and garlic. Now for the sauce, I'm using 1 red bell pepper and half tin tomatoes. I forgot to add my scotch bonnet to this, but I'll be adding the scotch bonnet before I blend the tomato and the bell peppers together. And you would need 1 tablespoon of palm oil, 1 tablespoon of crayfish powder. You would also need some vegetable oil to fry the plantain. Of course, you need some plantain because without plantain, there's no gizzard dodo. And for garnishing, I'm using half yellow bell pepper, half green bell pepper, and half red onion. In my blender, I'm adding the onions, garlic, ginger, and scotch bonnet. I'll be adding a little bit of water. I'll blend this till smooth, and I'll use this mixture to steam the gizzard. I've added the gizzard to a pot. I will now be adding the blended mixture to the gizzard. Once you've added the blended mixture, now time to add the seasoning. I'm adding coriander, cumin, badia complete seasoning, adobo, mixed herbs, all-purpose seasoning, paprika, white pepper, black pepper. Feel free to season the gizzard using seasoning of your choice. I will allow the gizzard to cook for 45 minutes. I will also link all the measurements in the description below. I mentioned earlier I will be adding scotch bonnet to this recipe. I'm using 2 scotch bonnets. You can add more or less. Add the scotch bonnet, the tomatoes and the bell pepper to a vegetable chopper, food processor or blender. Blend to a coarse consistency and not smooth. Set this aside for later use. Chop 1/2 medium onion and set this aside. You will also need to dice the bell peppers and onion for garnishing and set this aside. So now I'll be prepping my plantain for later on. I will cut in the plantains into bite-sized pieces. Also for this recipe, I'm only going to use 2 plantains because I'm not using a lot of gizzard. However, for your recipe, if you're using a lot of gizzard, you would need to add more than 2 plantains. Once you finish cutting the plantains, place them in a bowl and set them aside for later on. So guys, after 30 minutes of cooking the gizzard, I'm checking on the gizzard to see if they are nice and tender. I poked some of the meat with my fork, however the gizzards were still too hard. I covered and cooked it for an additional 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, I checked on the gizzard again and the stock had reduced. I poked the meat again using a fork and it slid right through. So at this point I knew the gizzard were nice and soft. I removed the gizzard from the stock and I set the meat aside. Now it's time to fry the plantain. Add enough oil to a wok, a frying pan or even using a deep fryer. Fry the plantains until they're nice and golden. Remove the plantain from the oil, set them aside and we will use them later on. Once the plantains have been removed from the oil, to the same oil, add your gizzard and fry until they're nice and golden. Do not overcook your gizzard because they will be hard. Once the gizzards are done, remove them from the pan and set them aside. Once all the gizzard has been removed from the pan, I went ahead and reduced the oil as I will be adding 1 tablespoon of palm oil. Allow the oils to infuse with one another for about a minute before adding the onions. This will create a nice and smoky flavor in the Gizzard Dodo. Now add the chopped onions and allow the onions to fry until they're fragrant and translucent. Once the onions are fragrant, add the crayfish powder and simmer for about 2 minutes. Now add the blended pepper mixture and allow the sauce to simmer for about 5 minutes. After 5 minutes of simmering the sauce, time to season it. I added mixed herbs, all-purpose seasoning, badia complete seasoning, adobo seasoning, and jumbo crayfish flavoring stock. Feel free to season the sauce using your preferred seasonings of choice, and I'll link all the measurements in the description below. After adding all your seasoning, allow the sauce to simmer for an additional 8 to 10 minutes. Guys, at this point the sauce was just smelling amazing. I tasted it just to ensure that I have enough seasoning in my sauce. If you do not have enough seasoning, feel free to adjust it to your taste. I then went ahead and added the fried gizzard and the fried plantain. After adding the gizzard and the plantains to the sauce, I mix everything together well, ensuring that the sauce is well coated around the gizzard and the plantains. I garnished it with the peppers and the onions, and the Gizzard Dodo is ready. Gizzard Dodo is ready. Gizzard Dodo is ready. Anyway, let me go and enjoy my Gizzard Dodo with some jollof rice. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please do not forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification icon. And I'll see you guys at the next video. Bye.